Hey strangers, welcome to another episode of the Strange Sessions. I am Kurt.
I'm Krista.
And we are joined in the studio today by one of my longtime closest brother from another mother friends, James Bohn.
Hi.
Hi. welcome to the studio. Jamie's going to sit in with us today. Our topic for today is going to be Area 51.
Exciting.
It's our 8th episode.
I know, that's crazy.
When are we going to stop counting down? Probably when we hit 10.
Well, we're always going to say what episode it is, though, aren't we?
Even when we get to like the 13th, 14th, 15th?
Why not?
Okay. Well, this is our 8th episode.
Do we have any housekeeping?
We do, but I don't have it written down. It was the link that Sarah McFarland sent to us, that the guy's Twitter with the ghost outside the door.
Oh, yeah, that is so cool. Okay, we can talk about it a little bit if you want, and then we'll post a link.
I'll post a link. By the time that this is aired, there should be a link posted on there.
It is. It's pretty cool. It's interesting. It could
pretty
all be a
cool.
total hoax.
Yeah,
I don't
be a
know,
total
but
hoax.
it's a fun hoax if it is.
But yeah, you can talk about it.
So, okay, I'm going off of the link you sent me, but there's this guy on Twitter. What's his name? Do you remember his name? We'll post all this, but he has been waking up at the same time or at a same time every night. I don't know if he's waking up or just noticing this, but his cats will go and sit and stare at his door, right? The door to the apartment.
Yeah,
and they'll
but
just sit there and stare at it. Am I skipping ahead?
No.
Okay.
But I think my cat does that a lot too, where she'll stare at something that...
But it's the same time every night,
Yeah.
I guess. And he showed videos. You could see videos and pictures. They're just intently staring at the door like there's something happening out there. And didn't he have dreams too that there was a little boy?
Yeah.
Was it a little boy
Whether
that
like
would
his head caved.
show
His
up?
head was caved
Yeah,
in.
his head was caved in because he put drawings of it, of like his interpretation of what the boy looked like on Twitter as well. And it sounded kind of like sleep paralysis to me. Of course, I think everything is sleep paralysis because it's a convenient explanation. I've had it myself.
I haven't, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, be very happy.
I have.
You
Have
have?
you?
Yeah.
Ooh, we can talk about that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
All right, side topic. Housekeeping. So then he posted a picture through the peephole of his door of the stairwell, and you can see kind of what looks like there's something between it's like a bookshelf and the staircase where like this, what are those called? Spindles?
Yeah.
On the staircase. You can see that there's something there. And
It looks like a mist, or it looks like some kind of figure.
just something. There's something there. So it's kind of this ongoing saga, I guess, of him trying to figure out what's going on. Didn't someone in the building say you saw the little girl? Did you see the little boy or whatever it was? And
yes.
so there's some history behind who this might be. And
But it's so hard today to have faith
trust
in
anything.
something
Yeah,
like
this
that
could
when
be
it's
a
so
huge
easy
hoax.
to make, fake stuff.
right. But it's interesting. It's kind of intriguing.
Yes,
It's getting a
it
little
should
bit
be
of a
on
buzz.
our Facebook wall. Check it out.
Yeah, we'll post that for you guys. Tell us what you think. Hoax, fact, faked, whatever.
I don't know what I think yet. I'm leaning towards real, but
I don't know enough about it.
yeah. Do we have any other housekeeping?
I don't think so.
We are now officially on iTunes.
Oh, that's good housekeeping.
That is good housekeeping. We are on iTunes and other podcasting apps. Stitcher. I use Pocket Casts. So you can find us on there, and you can download our episodes, listen to them whenever you want instead of,
Through YouTube.
having to listen to them. We're still going to put them on YouTube,
Yeah.
but we're also going to have them in the other ways you can get them.
I revamped the website a little bit, too. It's a little bit more user-friendly and nicer to look at. So.
Yes. So subscribe, comment, rate us, let us know what we do good, what we do bad.
Share.
Yes,
There's
definitely share.
a Facebook page called Podcasts We Listen To that I just joined, so I'm just going to start spamming it with
Just
stuff
do that
about
every 5 minutes. Every 5
podcast.
minutes. People love that. That's very effective.
Absolutely. Not at all annoying.
No, not at all. Shout-outs.
I hear you guys have some shout-outs.
I have actually 2 shout-outs. My first shout-out I want to give to my good friend Stephanie Thompson. She loves the podcast. I've known her back when I was in college. There was a thing on the computer called Lambda Moo, where it was like, it's hard to explain. It was like an early form of a chat program where you could like create your own little room on there, and it was all text.
Okay.
Like this was
Is it
before.
like furry?
Yeah,
Do you remember furry?
Yes, that's exactly what it was. But I
my.
met her on there, and we've been friends ever since.
Oh,
so
cool.
I want to give you a shout out, Stephanie. Love you. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I want to give a shout out to I talk about Sophie a lot on the show. She's one of my best friends. Give a shout out to her husband, Adam Ray. in an earlier episode, I called her by her maiden name. So I know.
No, you
I
didn't.
know.
Shame.
But I have like a weird thing with that where when I know somebody by their maiden name,
Hard. Yeah,
they're
it's hard.
always that person.
Yeah. Okay.
So he loves the podcast. She loves the podcast. So shout out to you, Adam. Thanks for listening. Jamie?
My shout outs, you already gave one to him, Mr. James Ollick, who listens to the show
Yes.
and is another friend of ours. But I've only known Jim since junior high, not since first grade like I've known you. So,
He's not as important.
He's a newcomer.
He's a newcomer.
I got to say, Jim, as much as I looked for a connection between Area 51 and Bigfoot, I could not find one.
No,
so I'm
no.
sorry.
We like to joke around with Jim with Bigfoot.
Is he a believer?
I don't think so.
I think he uses it to scare his kids.
Oh.
But that's the way it should be used.
Yeah, that's why a lot of this stuff is made up.
That's a good parenting method.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to remember that.
Parenting through fear.
They'll never go into the woods
Exactly. No, because they were just out like hunting bears or something,
yeah, I mean,
weren't they?
they actually have bears near their cabin, and they put up a camera system to catch them. And I think he even puts out like tons of candy in order to lure them near the cameras. And man, it's scary how big those bears are, and how close they are to his cabin. But
I think that's just a cover for squatch hunting, but that's just me.
Or the grays.
Or the grays. Do you have a shout out, Krista?
No, I don't think so.
Wow.
I'm giving everybody the cold shoulder this week.
Yeah. The hell with them.
Yeah. Take that, listeners.
One of those weeks.
Yep.
And I also want to thank all of our listeners for the comments and everything they leave about the previous episodes. What was your favorite episode, Jamie?
Reality.
See, and that makes me happy because I love the reality one, and I feel like people were kind of like,
Oh, I
about
liked
that.
it. Well, I was there, but I
It's
liked
just
it.
kind of a...
Or were you?
Or, ooh. But
Touche.
by far and away, our most popular episode is the Missing 411
Yeah.
episode. People love that. And so many people have messaged me and said they got pulled down that rabbit hole of looking up that stuff after listening to our podcast. So thank you guys for listening and for letting us know what you like. I'm glad you guys like that one.
And we'll be covering more 411
Yeah,
stories.
I think we're
going to
do another episode on that, covering more of the weird disappearance stories.
Which is a big thing of mine. You know that. I listen
Yes.
to like nonstop missing persons podcasts.
Yes.
And if there's a little paranormal twist, I'm just like in heaven.
I
so.
feel like I got burnt out on the true crime stuff because for a while,
It
I mean,
makes you
all
a
I was
little-
watching was Investigation
Yeah.
Discovery.
Oh, that's all I watch.
I know, but
It's
I
a
think
little depressing and it makes you kind of paranoid. And after
Yeah.
a while, you're just like, I need to watch some cartoons or
Yeah.
something. Some Seinfeld.
But I think, is it the next episode we're gonna do Maura
Missing
Murray?
Maura Murray. Yeah.
Yes.
I keep saying Missing Maura
Because
Murray
that's the
because
name of
that's
the
the name of the
podcast.
podcast. But yes, Maura Murray, who is missing.
But you're in charge of that one because you're
I'm already taking notes.
good. Tonight's show is about Area 51.
Which is cool. This place exists. We know
It
it's
does
a real
exist.
thing.
Now we know it's a real thing.
Unlike
Now
a lot
it's-
of things that we talk
yeah.
about, this is a real place. Although the government denied it for years and years and years. I believe it was Russia that forced them to admit that it was real because of a lawsuit.
No, it wasn't Russia. It was,
was it?
people that work there.
Oh, it was people that worked
Yes.
there? Oh.
Yes.
Because they were getting injured.
We'll get into that.
Okay. I like to try to force us to skip ahead, and Kurt always reels me
She
back
does.
in.
And I stand my ground. I don't let her pretty face weigh me into. But yeah, it is a real place. It's in the southern portion of Nevada, 83 miles northwest of Las Vegas. I kind of have a personal connection with the place.
Kind of.
We will get into it.
It's a pretty big deal if you
He was
after-
born there.
I was born there.
Yes.
No.
Alien parentage.
Yeah, it was.
Could be. I'm not ruling anything out.
No. It would explain a lot if I
Sure
was,
would.
but I'm not. But long story short, my dad has been there and done stuff there, but we will get to that after the very brief history lesson.
Okay.
Area 51 pretty much came about after the end of the Second World War. The Soviet Union started kind of closing themselves off from everything else, and we wanted information about what was going on there. So we decided that what we needed was an aircraft that we would be able to do reconnaissance,
Okay.
except they were able to intercept a lot of our aircrafts at the time. In 1955, a CIA special assistant for planning and coordination named Richard Bissell and an Air Force officer working on the U-2 project named Colonel Osmond Reitland went to look for a location to test the upcoming U-2 prototype. The U-2 spy plane would be able to fly farther than we even thought was possible. But we needed a place in total secrecy to work on this.
Okay.
So they went out, they were looking around California or Nevada. On April 12th, 1955, they were scouting locations from the air with the help of a Lockheed test pilot.
Who's they?
The Richard Bissell and Colonel Osmond Reitland. They were kind of in charge of finding a place to do this.
Okay.
So they were flying over the Groom Lake Salt Flat when they noticed an airstrip that had been abandoned that the Army Air Corps was using in World War II. They figured that would be perfect location for it. So they looked on the Atomic Energy Commission's map to see where it was, and it was next to an Area 15. And their map was segmented into areas. And nobody really knows exactly how the name Area 51 came around, if that was labeled 51. But people don't really know how the Area 51 came in.
Maybe it was just to be sort of, if it was next to Area 15.
That's what somebody said. I think I was listening to the Sofa King podcast where they joked that the guy was probably dyslexic. And
or they picked a number that would not indicate where it was on the map because it wasn't anywhere near where, the other corresponding numbers would be.
Yeah.
Misleading.
3 months later, the site actually became operational. They called it a bunch of different names at the time. It was named the Watertown Strip. It was named the Ranch. It was named Paradise Ranch.
Yeah, I heard about that.
They named it Paradise Ranch in order to entice people to come work there on this
in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, this godforsaken,
super lush and luxurious.
Mm-hmm. So it went under all these different names.
I think it was also called Dreamland.
It was called Dreamland. It was called Neverland Ranch. Wasn't that one of them? Or
isn't that Michael Jackson?
All right.
It's
that was close. That was close.
There's aliens with that too.
Yeah, there are aliens involved in that.
Yeah, some weird stuff going on there.
I don't even know if I'm going to edit that out.
No,
that
you
was
won't, because it's perfect.
Okay. But so then they started testing and started flying the U-2 plane, and that's when UFO sightings skyrocketed because people didn't know that a plane was able to fly that high.
Oh.
So when they would see like the glint of the sunlight off the wings and stuff like that, people just started phoning in that they were seeing UFOs.
So it was just misidentification in most of those cases,
yes.
Probably.
And of course the government didn't do anything to
dissuade them from...
they can't say no. That's our
this place doesn't
top
exist.
secret spy plane.
Right, yeah.
I think another thing is also the direction you see it coming from. Like when we get to Janet later on, if you have a plane flying straight towards you from your perspective, it looks like it's hovering.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so if it
That's
takes
a
a turn,
point.
then it seems like it's been hovering and it takes off like a jet in another direction.
That's very true. I've experienced that myself.
Yes. Yeah, and people didn't know what to make of these things, so I guess just what was the statistic that they think that over half of the UFO sightings around that time were this plane, the U-2.
Okay, wow.
And its successor.
What that says, though, is the other half were possibly UFOs.
Possibly.
It was also near to Groom Lake, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I think that was desirable because it's very flat, and so you could use it as a runway, even though they had a runway.
Yes.
How many square miles is Area 51? Do we know that?
I don't know off the top of my head because it's been expanding.
Sure. Okay.
Just with not really recently, but with in the 90s or something like that, they purchased a bunch of land around it because I think they were getting fed up with people going to, some of those peaks to look.
Yeah, sure. Running into the Camo Dudes.
Right now,
as they like to call
running
them.
into the Camo Dudes. Right now, the well-known spot is Tickaboo Peak.
Yep.
Which is where people go with their lawn chairs and they sit and watch stuff.
Watch men in tinted windowed trucks drive around and watch them back.
Give them dirty looks. But at the time, it had the longest runway in the world that they kind of needed in order for some of these aircraft to to either land or get up to speed where they could take off.
Do we know of any other specific, like now we can talk about craft that they developed and tested?
Yeah, they did a lot of stuff. Jamie, do you know some of the other ones?
Yeah, the U2 program I think was headed by Lockheed, and Lockheed was run out of Burbank, California, which is one of the reasons why they were looking in California and Nevada area for testing. Now, that division of Lockheed was nicknamed the Skunk Works.
Skunk Works.
Which came from a little Abner cartoon.
Yes. I never knew that. I knew it was the Skunk Works, but I never really knew where that came from.
But I guess the idea behind it is that, it's supposed to describe an organization without much oversight and things along those lines. But, the U-2 was developed in 1955. Its successor, the A-12 or Operation Ox Cart, was developed in 1959. Later on, there was the SR-71, codenamed Blackbird.
Yeah.
The F-22 Raptor, the F-117A Nighthawk, which was a stealth fighter. So this is well into the 1990s, that they're developing fighter craft.
And those were used actively in our military.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that was interesting about the A-12, Jamie and I were talking about this when we were driving out here, was that they had like a plastic mock-up of it, the actual size and the contours of the plane that they would bring out to the runway in order to test the stealth properties of the plane. And the Russians ended up knowing what the plane looked like, and they couldn't for the longest time figure out how, because they knew the schedule of the Russian satellites, that when the satellite was going to go over, they pushed everything to hangars. And I guess they said that it was just like a big pain in the ass
funny.
because every time they knew a satellite was coming over, they had to scoot everything out.
Oh, boy.
But they finally realized that the Russians knew what the A-12 looked like because when it was sitting out on the runway, the shadow of it was making the ground beneath it cool. And the Russian satellites had thermal properties.
Sure.
So even though the plane was gone, they would be able to tell the shape of the plane from the thermal image that its shadow left.
Bastards.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Like the Russians knew about it almost from the start. I mean, it was almost more secret from us than it was from them. But they did what they could to hide stuff. Yeah, you can only do so much.
Oh, so I think the secrecy just around the whole location and program is interesting about how, people are boarded onto a completely unmarked airplane. Yep. And do you have more about that?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yes.
There I go. Skipping
ahead.
Damn.
The facility really came to be known around 1989. That is when someone named Bob Lazar came forward with claims that he had worked there. Apparently, he was bringing friends out to the desert because he knew what times these crazy objects were going to be flying around. So he brought his friends out there to watch them, and he got busted. And he got fired. So in 1989, he came forward with claims that he worked at S4, an underground secret facility located near Area 51. He said that he was brought on by the government to reverse engineer UFOs that they had captured, and he spent his time reverse engineering these, and then he found out that they were powered by something called Element 115 that would create gravitational waves that would allow the UFOs to fly here from great distances.
Okay. So where was he kind of exposing all of this? What was the...
It was actually on... Yeah, what happened was Bob Lazar contacted a Las Vegas television station called KLAS to claim that he had been working there. So they ran an interview with him where he was like shaded out.
Okay.
Like the shadow, like they do when they called him Dennis.
Did they do the voice too?
I don't know if they did the voice.
Witness protection voice?
I don't know if they did the voice.
Okay.
But yeah, he said that the alien crafts that he was reverse engineering flied by amplifying gravity waves. He said that there was this Element 115 that nobody had ever heard of.
And where does this element come from? It's not something you can...
He said that it was given to us by aliens, that we, back in the 60s and 70s, we were trading with the aliens, that they gave us technology and gave us things, and that people aren't sure what we gave them in return, but that's where people theorize that we'd let them abduct humans for experiments.
Via Area 51? Was this like the internet, the intergalactic trade post?
Basically, the top secret stuff we got from them was supposedly kept at Area 51.
Okay. Is that where it was obtained? Like, that's where they were meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what Bob Lazar was saying.
Okay.
And he said that he's been on the ships and that his first thought was that, like, the seats and everything are unusually small. So it's from, like Greys, like the Greys that we talk about. There's a lot of people that think he's nuts.
Bonkers.
Either nuts or a hoaxer.
Sure.
There are people that back him up on this, saying that, yeah, he was there. But he claimed to go to MIT. He claimed to go to Caltech. And
crazy people can be smart.
People looked into this, and there's no records of him being at those schools.
Oh, of course.
And he says that's because the government erased his...
Of course.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a documentary I just watched on Netflix. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's about this guy who has made these claims of being abducted by aliens over the years. And after this documentary came out, it was revealed that he's being charged with pedophilia and having child pornography. And he's claiming that the government planted all the child pornography onto his computers and stuff to try to stop him from exposing blah, blah, blah. So.
Yeah. And that that happened with Bob Lazar, where he was caught financially helping a prostitute. But it's Vegas. I mean,
paying for her services?
I don't know if it was paying for her services, but he got in big trouble
college.
for that. But it's Vegas, where prostitution's not that big of a thing.
Well, it's legal.
Yeah. But
in brothels, I should say.
I think he had claimed that was them, trying to...
It's very convenient.
Yeah. Yeah, but on the other hand, if you're the government, you want to get somebody, you can do that.
Sure.
That's a good way to do it.
Relatively easy to do, too. Hack into someone's,
And they found out that the time that he was supposedly attending MIT, they found records of him being at a junior college somewhere else. But then there are people that said they actually worked with him and remember seeing him. So people think that he was working with a company that was contracted with Area 51.
Oh, okay.
And that he may have been there. But they don't know if he...
And then decided to just sort of,
Yeah.
elaborate a little bit.
Or if he's like a compulsive liar.
Could be.
So, I don't know.
Area 51 needs janitors like everywhere else.
Yeah, they do.
You're right. Someone's got to clean the toilets.
So Bob Lazar could almost be an episode in itself.
Yeah.
I've
never even heard of this guy.
Yeah,
so.
He's big in like the UFO scene. Because he's kind of the one that blew the whistle on Area 51. That's when it kind of became widely known.
Okay.
I think I'm the only one here who gets signal. And according to the Wikipedia, the original base is 6 by 10 miles long. And the no-fly zone is 23 by 25 miles long. Restricted airspace above Area 51.
So that's pretty huge.
Yeah, that is huge.
So with Bob Lazar came, knowledge that this place existed, and they were still very functional. They were still working on aircraft. Another thing they did out there was they would get enemy aircraft, and they would bring them there to study them. There's reports that they would see U.S. planes like pretend jet fighting with Russian MiGs in order to figure out better strategies. So that is also where they would take any captured or, given to us aircraft. A lot of them were people that would defect.
Okay.
They would fly over here, and then they would bring the aircraft there. And then in 1994, a bunch of former employees of Area 51 came forward to file a lawsuit against the government. They were exposed to toxic fumes. They wouldn't let you, if they had stuff that needed to be destroyed, they wouldn't let anything be taken off base, so it had to be done there. So they were taking computers, they were taking the stealth panel material, and they were burning it. And people were in charge of that, and they would have to go into the pit every now and then and stir it, and the government wouldn't let them wear any protection over their waist.
Why?
So these people had problems where their skin was peeling off, where they would end up with horrible lung conditions. So these people, some of them died. These people or their spouses filed a lawsuit.
Well, and I had heard it was also just commonplace workplace injuries were happening, and there's no such thing as work comp when the place that you work for doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so I think it was this lawsuit that forced the government to admit that it existed.
Yes.
Yep. I don't know if they officially admitted it existed, but at that point they kind of weren't hiding it anymore. So with these workers or the deceased workers' spouses filing this lawsuit
So people actually died?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the guys' names was Robert Frost, not the poet. Not the poet. I know that you love the
woods
poet.
are lovely, dark and deep.
But yeah, his wife is one of the people that joined that because he passed away. And then after they filed the lawsuit, in 1995, President Bill Clinton exempted the base from any environmental liabilities due to national security. So the people basically saw nothing. Yeah, that's lovely.
That's not the only unpleasant sort of damage from that area. Area 51 also joins the Nevada National Security Site, which is sometimes called NNSS or N2S2. Over the years, this I think it encompasses the Topona test range.
Yeah.
But regardless, over the decades, there have been 928 nuclear tests at that site.
That's
Oh
a
my
lot
gosh.
of nuclear tests.
And
Wow.
even though this is located in Nevada, the town of St. George, Utah, has suffered the brunt of the fallout.
Sure.
And in fact, one of the most notorious stories about it involves the filming of the movie The Conqueror, which was directed by Dick Powell, produced by Howard Hughes, starred John Wayne, Agnes Moorehead, Susan Hayward. They filmed parts of that movie in St. George, Utah, and apparently they were filming when Operation Upshot, or Knothole, where a series of 11 nuclear tests, one of which was nicknamed Dirty Harry, and apparently it was filmed when that went off. But then to make matters worse, when they were doing studio work in the studio, they wanted the soil to match the outside shots. So Howard Hughes had like 60 tons of soil from St. George shipped to the studio, to the sound stage. Of the 220 people who worked on that film, 91 of them developed some form of cancer. 46 of them died from cancer by the year 1980. Now, like John Wayne and Susan Hayward smoked like chimneys. So,
Sure.
But I know
Right.
I know that they also wondered if that didn't play a part in their deaths.
Well, sure. It
oh yeah.
can magnify any,
Yeah.
pre-existing condition you have.
But regardless, you would normally, out of a sample of 220 people, you would normally expect 30 of them to develop some form of cancer in a lifetime. But again, they had 3 times that that in that amount. And if you're interested, you can look on the interwebs for
Information about that.
well,
I'd
also
never heard about
information
that.
about incidences of cancer in St. George, Utah itself. They had lots of trouble with people developing leukemia and other forms of cancer.
Some of that stuff is scary because I don't know if it was near this place, but I remember something about, was it a nerve gas that got out, and because of the way the wind was blowing, it ended up killing a bunch of sheep on a farm, and if it would have been blowing the other way, it would have went into a city and killed people.
Oh, man.
So it's kind of amazing that more
Right.
people don't die from that stuff. But I do remember hearing that about the Conqueror.
When you wonder what we don't hear about.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and one of the things that's troubling about the Conqueror is they knew about the nuclear test site,
I was going to ask that question.
but they were told that there was no danger.
This is when was this?
This the Conqueror, I think it was filmed in 1956.
So, okay, when did we become aware of the dangers of nuclear warfare?
Hiroshima,
Yeah,
I mean,
basically.
And when
known-
was that?
1945.
Okay, so
I mean,
so we were well aware of what the effects were going to be by then.
and
I don't know if we were aware of the long-term effects. I mean,
But
we knew
even
what
then,
we knew
it's-
what the short-term effects were when you're near ground zero.
1945 is 11 years past Hiroshima. I think they had some idea. And
Yeah.
I've even heard people who were involved in the Manhattan Project who said, like, we knew that there was probably, toxic effects from this stuff when we were working on it before we even set one off.
Yeah.
Right.
But because there's a guy working at the Manhattan Project who let a reaction get out of hand, and he died of radiation poisoning within a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, the fact that these workers weren't
Protected or compensated after it was revealed what they had been exposed to.
Yeah. But then I think the whole
That's
thing with
infuriating.
signing it to that national security, that they're exempt from any sort of liability, I think is kind of a dick move, but what can you do? But activities continued at the site. They continued working on stuff, and more came out about it. They found out that the people that worked there would get there from, what airport is that? McCarran Airport.
Is that in Las Vegas?
Yes.
Okay.
That there was a terminal where the planes weren't marked. They were known, I don't know if it was official or if it was a nickname, but they were known as Janet.
Yeah.
Was that an official designation?
That's what everyone calls it. Everyone seems
The
to
plane is called Janet?
No,
or the terminal?
the
planes,
flights.
The
The
planes
flights.
are completely unmarked.
They're
have
white, right?
They're
just
white with red stripes.
Yeah,
red
there's
stripes, yep.
6. They have a fleet of 6 737s, and they have some smaller planes too. But the 737s, they have no number markings on them, and Janet is legend to stand for just another non-existent terminal.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
that I've heard.
Okay, yep.
And I've heard it when people hear the radio, when people get, the flight radio, they hear them referred to as Janet 1, Janet 2.
Okay.
So I just always didn't know if Janet was a nickname that they took on for themselves or if Janet was the official name of the airline. But there's videos out there where you can see the workers climb onto the planes and then climb back at night. And, they think a lot of the UFO sightings that people saw near Area 51 were just the Janet airplanes coming in and out.
Sure.
But then there's a lot of reports of people seeing lights in the sky doing maneuvers that a plane couldn't do. So they don't know if these were government test planes, if what they were. There's been a lot of planes, created there.
When did drones first?
Drones are relatively recent, but I'm willing to bet
Well,
drones
released to
were,
the public, sure.
Yeah,
When do you
I'm
think the
willing to
government
bet
was
drones
working?
were worked on there way before we knew about them. There was a plane called Aurora, or there was
A craft.
a project called Aurora that showed up in a budget for black projects, for secretive projects. And people still theorize about what Aurora was because they don't know. They don't know if it was a plane that they just didn't make or if it was a nickname of a plane that was made. But they would see these names of these planes as they were working on them. And then in October of 2013, the government declassified some reports about Area 51, and that is the first time it was actually, named, acknowledged. Yeah. So that is when it was officially deemed to exist.
Okay.
Even though people basically knew about it since the Bob Lazar story.
Sure.
But there's a lot of theories that the government wanted you to know about it because a lot of people theorize that at one time there possibly were UFOs or UFO-related material on the sites that the government moved to a different site and they wanted people to focus on Area 51.
The old bait and switch.
The old bait and switch. I see on the internet a lot of people say that Dugway Proving Grounds, I believe that's in Utah, is the real Area 51 where stuff is. And it's still in existence. There is still, movement there. There are still flights. They're still testing things.
And people are still trying to get in and
people are
see
still
what's
trying to
going
get
on.
in there. There's I don't remember the name of the security company. It used to be Wackenhut. I don't know who it is now, but these are what are referred to as the Camo Dudes.
Camo Dudes.
The guys that sit in their trucks and, give you the stink eye when you get near the border. But they have motion detectors all over the place. You can't get on there. Mm-hmm. And part of me
Who knows what kind of technology they have to, keep an eye on what we're doing as we approach.
Oh, you can't get anywhere near there without their
You're on their radar
say-so.
long before you realize it, I'm sure.
Yeah, but there's still people going to Tickaboo Peak and seeing the things that go on there. So it is still in existence today.
Mm-hmm.
There's, of course, a couple of weird rumors about Area 51. The most prevalent one is that there's UFOs/aliens there. There's reports.
I'm not sure that's a weird rumor. I think that's just like the widely believed
the widely
fact,
believed
yeah.
fact. Yeah. There's a lot of reports that there is supposedly an alien there that's, I guess his name is J-Rod. So, but
Okay.
I've read about
J-Rod.
it. J-Rod. I've read about it that there are.
Sounds like a celebrity couple.
I think his cousin is on the Red Sox. Or something.
Yeah.
So
I don't sports much, but I think so.
there's people that say they've worked with him. I mean, there's not just one person. There's multiple people that say they have worked with him or seen him. You know,
Okay.
he's supposedly.
Is he a gray?
Yeah, he's
That's always
kind
what I
of described like a gray. That he's telepathic.
Okay.
You know, he's supposedly kind of like a go-between between the aliens and us. So I don't know what to make of that.
Instead of that annoying guy who eats your lunch, he's always reading your mind and shit.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, that he helps us with our technological advances and whatnot. But
Okay.
that's the rumor. J-Rod.
J-Rod.
What the heck did he have to do on his home planet to get stuck on that?
I don't know. That's one of the podcasts I
At
listened
Paradise
to. One
Ranch?
of the podcasts I listened to said that, you know, maybe he got banned here. This is like the Siberia for them, where they
This is
stick ones that they
exile.
don't like, and he's got his spaceship where every now and then he goes and gets something and gives it to us, like some technology. Here's a microwave. You're gonna love this soon.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, maybe
there's
he's,
also
maybe he's just in sales.
he might be.
It's a pyramid scheme for sure.
It is. J-Rod. I kind of want to hug him. Another rumor is that Area 51 was built around a Stargate. That there is a Stargate there.
Like with Dean Allen Foster. What's his name?
MacGyver?
Yeah.
Yeah, just call him MacGyver.
Okay, MacGyver.
That
He's one of those 3-name people, isn't he?
Yeah.
Richard Dean Anderson.
There you
Richard
go.
Dean Anderson.
I
Alan Dean
know my-
Foster is an author. I
I
think.
know my MacGyver. But yeah, there's supposedly a Stargate there.
What's a Stargate? I'm not a Trekkie. You have to explain this to me.
It's a whole show. It's not just Star Trek.
Oh, Stargate, the show.
yeah.
Gotcha.
It's a gate that
Sort of like a
goes
portal?
through that. Yeah, it's a portal that you
Okay.
can go to.
I guess like an artificial,
Like an artificial
created-
wormhole. There was supposedly one that Saddam Hussein had, and that's why
Oh,
we
yeah.
that's why
He
we
kept
got
it in his
that's why
backyard.
we got into the war, because we wanted his Stargate. So yeah,
Okay.
there are people that believe there is a Stargate there. Might have. There's a lot of people that think there's a huge underground railway system in the United States, that there's tunnels connecting all these military bases, that Area 51 is like one of the hubs of this underground transit system.
That actually seems plausible.
It
to
does
me.
seem plausible, but then it also ties into the underground bases where the aliens are and where the aliens are, you know, experimenting on us. And
Where is it that the government has this stockpile of seeds and they're planning for like the end of the
isn't that
world?
in Sweden or something like that?
Oh,
Well,
so
the international one I think is in Sweden, but the U.S.
We have
government,
one,
we
yeah.
might have one.
Didn't they say it just
ourselves.
flooded not that long ago? There's something happened
yeah, I
there?
saw something in the news about that. So it makes me wonder if there are these underground. Is it connected to that as well?
Well, the infamous one is NORAD.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And you know, Dulce is supposed to be the big base that has the underground. We might even do a whole show on Dulce, because that's supposed to be like the alien hub where the aliens are underneath there. You know,
Okay.
and then they talk about the airport in Denver, that these are all connected with underground transit systems. Also, another popular rumor about Area 51 is that that's where the moon landing was filmed.
Oh, sure. I've heard that one.
You know, for
sure.
the people that don't believe we ever landed on the moon.
What do you guys think?
Well, we certainly landed on the moon.
My opinion is I think we did land on the moon, but I could also see that we didn't land on the moon maybe when we said we did. That we did later than we said we did.
We just wanted to beat.
The first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rumor I'd heard that Stanley Kubrick filmed it.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors that The Shining was his admission to. Yeah, there's a lot of rumors that the movie The Shining was his admission to faking.
So where's the symbolism I'm missing here?
There's
Part of the podcast.
Danny is wearing a shirt with like the Apollo, one of the Apollo crafts on it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff in there that people read into. You know, one of the things that people say is when Jack is typing all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, that all is actually A11 standing for Apollo 11. So a lot of people, a lot of The Shining was, I don't know if you and I talked about this, but I just watched the movie It Follows.
Yeah.
Which was a really good movie.
Yeah, it's good.
But then I read an article after I watched the movie about the things that the movie does to throw you off track and to make you feel uneasy.
Oh,
like the fact that you can't pinpoint what year it is.
Yeah, it seems like it's in the 70s.
It seems
but
like, but then
really
they're watching
sure.
50s sci-fi. The girl has like a clamshell reader, which doesn't exist. And they said that there's things that don't make sense with the seasons. Like the girl is in her backyard in her swimming pool, and then in the next scene they're walking with winter jackets on, and that they do all these things to make you
feel uneasy.
Subconsciously feel uneasy. And they said that's what Kubrick did in The Shining.
Well, I feel like he did that with all of his movies. Have you seen A Clockwork Orange?
If you pay attention to the architecture of the hotel, it doesn't make sense. Like there's windows where there shouldn't be windows and stuff like that. So I think Kubrick threw a lot of stuff in there, you know, to make you feel uneasy. I don't know if I buy the...
I feel like it's a stretch to say like it's the all in all work and no play is A11.
I want to say I'm 90% on board with that. We actually went to the moon when we said we did, but I still have those kind of...
Yeah. I don't like to believe our government would try to pull the wool over our eyes like that.
Seriously?
But
Well, even beyond the government, there's also the individuals involved because you know, you're saying Neil Armstrong is a liar.
Well, that's what they said, is that you would need a lot of people to be on board with
elaborate.
that and to not blab about it.
Ever leak it.
Yeah.
Right.
But if people thought they were doing it for national pride or whatever, I could see people doing that.
Yeah, it's a long time to keep a secret, though.
It is a very long time to keep a secret.
Yeah.
But that's what people say, is that's where, you know, the moon landing was actually filmed. Possibly by Stanley Kubrick, possibly not. So that's Area 51.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell. But getting to my connection with Area 51.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Anybody who knows me knows that I can't cook worth a damn.
This is a weird segue into this topic. Okay.
So my dad would always make me food. So I'd go to his apartment and pick it up. And one day I was there getting my dinner from him, and it wasn't done cooking yet.
Was he retired now?
By that time, he was retired.
Okay.
So I was sitting on the couch, and he had the History Channel on, and there was a show about Area 51. And my dad was a driller for the Corps of Engineers, but he had crazy high security clearance. You know, I
call him 007.
Yeah. Or Walter Bishop. You guys called him Walter Bishop from Fringe.
Yep.
But
and then that show died out, and I went back to 007.
I don't know.
How did it come up?
We'll get into that. But I was watching the Area 51 show, and then it popped in my head to ask him. And I said, "Have you been to Area 51?" And he gave me a look that was him saying, "Should I tell him or not?" So then I said, "You have been there, haven't you?" And he said, "I shouldn't say anything, but yes, I have been there."
That's crazy. It is crazy. You know, anybody who's into this at all, that's like goosebump type thing.
And I said, and before I could say anything else, he said, "I'm going to tell you two things. Number one, I didn't see any damn aliens. And number two, the place is an environmental nightmare."
Oh.
Which you can kind of see from what we've talked about.
Yeah.
You know, and then I said, "So you took Janet Airlines there?" And he said, "Yeah, he did." So...
He didn't tell you what he was doing, though.
No, he couldn't tell me what he was doing.
Sure.
He said he could not tell me what he's doing. And he said...
Something with a drill.
And I said, "You didn't see aliens?" And he said, "No, but when you're there doing what you're supposed to do."
You're not just wandering
No,
around.
he said you don't like go
wander,
look for the gift shop. He said you have guards on you constantly. You go to the bathroom, guards are right there. You can't just wander around. And I wish I would have got to ask him more about it, but I didn't. And he passed away like a year or two after.
I always said I wish you would have found some like secret memoir where he like revealed all the cool, things he had done.
Yeah, we'll get to that too. But I asked my aunt just recently if he ever said anything to her about it, and she said, yeah, he did. He said that he told her that he saw things there that he never imagined we had.
Really?
And I don't know.
Oh, man, what does that mean?
I don't know. I'm assuming that just means crafts.
Yeah.
But it's
not like
wow.
arts and crafts.
Yeah.
Blu-ray players.
What?
Maybe Blu-ray
Blu-ray
players.
players.
Yeah, right.
So I never got to find out what he meant by that. But yeah, he had, I think I told you guys about this, that he was a driller, and that in the early 80s the government contracted him to do a drilling job.
I love this story.
I know, and
Never gets old.
Yeah, he told me this, that it was in Washington D.C. They picked him up in a van that had blacked out windows, so he could not see where he was going. He couldn't see anything. He had his drilling equipment. So they drove for a while. They got out of the van, and he was in a cave. And they wanted him to drill upwards through the cave. So he did that, got back in the van, never found out what he did, never was told what was going on. And then 10, 15, 20 years later, he was watching a show about Cold War espionage. And they talked about in the show in the early 80s when the government drilled up underneath the Russian embassy in Washington, D.C., to put listening devices. And he said when he saw that, he saw the dates, and he said that was what he was doing, that he was drilling the holes up through the ground to put the listening devices.
That must have been surreal for him in that moment to realize
I don't know if it was
that.
because he, Corey, my brother, and I always talk about that he must have had super high security clearance or something, because he would do stuff where he wouldn't see us for a while, and he would just mention that he would be in South America doing something with lasers in the jungle down there. Something like that.
Sure.
And
your everyday run-of-the-mill
what was
dad
weird
stuff.
was after he died, just coincidentally, my brother had bought a book off Amazon on America's top secret installations. And at that time, I had borrowed that book from my brother, and I was going through my dad's calendar of where he had been, and he had been to all these places. He had been to the Dugway Proving Grounds that I've mentioned. He's been to Area 51. He's been to all of these places listed in this book. So we don't really...
That's crazy.
My brother said he kind of wants to do a Freedom of Information Act, but I don't think there would be anything. I think he was just a driller, but he had super high clearance for these places.
Well, there's probably a file on him, but the question is how much will get redacted.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll all be black markered out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
basically, your dad's an American hero.
I don't know about that, but he's...
Well,
you gotta
espionage
think
on the Soviets?
Yeah.
Sure, your dad's an American hero.
you got to think that he really was a key part in getting some of these things accomplished.
Possibly. Wow, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
But-
like giving me the goosebumps right now.
Yeah, I wish I would have got to talk to him more about...
Oh, the
I don't know if
questions
he
you
could
would
have talked
ask.
more about,
Sure. I'm sure he would have wanted to tell you.
That's one of the things. Like I watched some videos that were by supposedly by former employees of Area 51, and when you think of the non-disclosure agreements that people in Hollywood have to sign,
Yeah.
and the details of the Last Jedi don't get leaked. You know, how can Hollywood keep a bigger rap on movies
Yeah.
than the government can keep on Area 51? Are these people that are recording testimonials about their work at Area 51 where they saw all these aliens and so forth? That's not a very good non-disclosure act.
No,
Right,
it's
yeah.
not. It's not.
Or are they all just attention seeking?
Attention seeking, or maybe they a little unbalanced, or
Sure.
Maybe they never worked there, or that fellow you mentioned earlier, he probably worked there, but not in the capacity he
Says that he did.
He implies that
That's
he did.
that's what they think, that he was contracted, that Bob Lazar was contracted to work for him, and he just made up everything else about the UFOs and about all that stuff.
Well, this
Yeah.
might be a good segue into the coast to coast.
Yes, the coast to coast caller.
Yeah.
Some
What
of
do
our
they call
listeners
them?
probably know about this. Some.
The panic? No, what
The
is
frantic
it? The
caller?
frantic caller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this happened on September 11th, 1997, on Coast to Coast AM radio show
With Art Bell.
with
right?
Art Bell. I've actually never heard it. I've never listened to the show.
No. It's because it's on. It was on at like 1 a.m.
Oh,
or
yeah,
something
God,
like
I'm
that.
like
Sorry,
I'm
I'm
like 6 hours of
passed out
sleep by then.
Yeah. But you can't listen to it like online, so
Yeah.
we have no excuse.
But yeah, on September 11th, 1997, a man called claiming to have worked at Area 51 He spoke with the frenzied voice of a man terrified for his life, and we have the recording of it right now.
Yeah, we're going to play it.
So we are going to play that for you right now.
Online, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna they'll triangulate on this position really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone. So give us something quick.
Okay. Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens, Art, they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military. I'm sorry, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharge.
I started getting...
So my first impression when I heard it yesterday was this guy sounds legitimately scared, but he could just be a really good actor, or he could be walking really fast because that would make you sound really
like out of breath and
could be like jogging.
What I find fascinating about that is that when it cuts off at the end, that wasn't like where somebody stopped recording. That is where the
whole station,
the satellite signal completely went out. Mm-hmm. And he said that has never happened before in the course of the show.
They had to get some kind of backup system.
Yeah. So I don't know. To me, that's
weird coincidence.
That's the weirdest part of it.
A hacker. I don't know.
What I noticed is he said nothing really specific.
No.
Like if I had worked at Area 51, I'd say I worked at Area 51 for 5 years. And I may have mentioned names of people I know.
That is one of the things I read about that is that people think that he would have said more specific things.
And even the warnings he were giving were so generic that, and very doomsday in terms of as if there was something imminent.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if this was recorded in 1997, I don't think anything was that imminent because we're still here.
9/11 did happen. It was 9/11, 1997. I guess 9/11 did happen. People do claim that was orchestrated by the government. But.
Yeah.
To play devil's advocate a little bit, somebody who they're going to find out I'm on the phone with you any minute now. I got to get out as much as I can. I'm not sure he would give out like I was here this long.
Yes.
I think he'd get to the message he thinks people need to know right away. And the things that he did say kind of made sense. Nothing was super outlandish until the whole wiping out the, large cities part came about.
I mean, I agree. I've said that in the past on the podcast that I think aliens are dimensional or like from another dimension.
Right away,
not
I was
necessarily,
like, oh, that's plausible.
Yeah, not necessarily from another planet.
Interdimensional, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just a guy on a phone who was talking in kind of a worried tone of voice.
Yeah.
It could have been an actor. It could have been a hoaxer.
And then the satellite feed got knocked out.
Could have been. He could have hacked into it. It could have been an elaborate hoax. Let's put it that way.
It could have been. And then after, this story kind of died down, I'm not exactly sure when it was, but we think it was a couple weeks after the original call. The caller supposedly called back admitting that it was just a hoax. But people have their opinions about that. So right here is the clip of the caller calling back.
The east of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hi, Art. This is Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Hello. You didn't disconnect me before, did you?
Were you on earlier tonight?
No, not, towards the end of the last hour, you said, east of the Rockies, you're on the air, and your voice was immediately replaced by the operator saying, your party has not connected.
Oh, well, see, as you can now tell, I don't screen calls. So
Right.
what happened, obviously, was that I answered the phone just at the very instant that you had been ringing as long as they were going to let you ring.
Yeah.
And so that occurs, obviously, sometimes I go to a line and it's dead and nobody's there, and that's what's happened. You know, we're
Right.
on the cusp there. Anyway, I'm glad you made it back through.
Yeah, you got all my paranoia buttons running. I always get very nervous when I call you. I'm Brian. I hung up on you last week.
I see.
And I just figured, damn the torpedoes. I'll just do this and let the chips fall where they will.
All right.
Everybody, I am the Area 51 caller. That's my statement, and let you or whatever tear it apart.
You claim you're the Area 51?
I am the man.
How do you account for the fact, Area 51 caller,
Okay.
that part of the way through your spiel, the satellite went down?
I have no idea, and it scared the heebie-jeebies out of me that night. I've called a number of times on your specialty line nights doing different, kind of wacky characters, and that's all that one was supposed to be. And if the call had been completed, it would have been ancient history by now.
Has it occurred to you, as Barbara Marks Hubbard suggested tonight, that perhaps, if you're really what you say you are, you created the reality of the rest of the situation and took down my satellite?
That scares the heebie-jeebies out of me because it means that what I was saying was somehow correct, and it was fabrication kind of
creating a reality.
Yeah, if that was the case, I humbly apologize to you because I love your show, and the last thing I would ever want to do is
knock
tear
me
you
off the air.
So what can I do to prove my claim here?
Well, I guess you could give us a little of what you gave us then, so that we could hear it and know it to be you.
Are you sure you want me to do that, Art?
I'm positive.
Don't, Art, please. I don't want you to ask me to do this. If I start doing that guy,
You're right about that. Now, let's just take that little sample that you just gave us, so that we don't alter some sort of hard little reality here at the end of the program, and we'll let the callers be the judge.
Okay.
All right?
I thank you for this opportunity. This has just been driving me bananas for months, and I didn't know what you wanted me to do. I knew it was very difficult for me to prove to you. But I just thank you for your patience in dealing with me up to this time.
All right, it's quite all right. Thank you. Fritz in Phoenix, as a matter of fact, called and said, oh, yes, that's him. Somebody else said, oh, no. Now he has done his little Area 51 caller IMO, or the real thing, depending on what you think. And so we'll leave it up to all of you. That is what you think.
So that was the supposed caller calling back. What do you think?
Okay, at first I was like, that's not him. And you guys were like, oh, yeah, that's him. As soon as he went into the performance, it was him.
Yeah. Jamie?
I think so, too.
Yep, I agree. I think that it was just that guy calling in, doing a character or whatever. There's a lot of people that don't think that's him. A lot of people think that's a different person, or a lot of people think that's him, but he's being forced by the government to say that.
To claim it's a
to
hoax.
claim that. Even after all that, I still think the most interesting thing is the satellite feed going out. I think that is, if it's a coincidence, it's a hell of a big coincidence.
You know, is Area 51 like listening to Coast, and they're like, who's this guy? We got to shut this down.
I don't know. Part of me thinks that they wouldn't be able to react that fast, but then part of me thinks that they might. So either it's a huge coincidence that the satellite went off, or
I mean, it would take you how long to hack into, if you have the top hackers in the world, which you got to think they do.
Yeah, I would assume that
Even
the
for
government. I would assume that the
1997.
government is able to go in and just knock the satellite off.
Yeah.
You know.
I imagine they could do it.
I don't know,
probably.
but I'm on board.
I'm guessing
with,
they're not listening to Coast to Coast, though.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm on board with that was the same guy. But the satellite getting knocked out during the first call was kind of weird.
yeah, that's strange. Creepy coincidence.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, Area 51, what do you think? Krista? I mean, is it a hotbed of...
So I think there's two versions of Area 51. There's the romanticized version that a lot of us like to think about.
Yep.
There's aliens and alien craft and all kinds of secret government experiments going on there. And then I think there's probably the more realistic. It's just where they're coming up with new technologies and testing craft that we're misinterpreting as UFOs because we've never seen anything like it before. They're very secretive. Maybe they're doing some shady things there. The government, they're doing that stuff all the time, all over the place.
Yep.
I mean, who knows what they're doing at Area 51? And if your dad said it was an environmental nightmare,
Yeah.
what does that mean? I'm not sure I want to know.
No, I mean that they don't have to conform to OSHA things because they technically don't exist.
Right.
So they can do whatever the hell they want.
So maybe there's this sweet spot in the middle where it's a little bit of both of those things.
That's very possible.
What do you think?
Jamie?
I think all the testing craft and so forth is certainly confirmed and really well documented. If you're going to test airplanes in a secret location, it should be in a large area where nobody goes, like maybe the desert.
Yeah.
know.
Exactly.
And so that makes great sense. The thing about aliens, I highly doubt it. I mean, if the government did have a hold of alien technology, that's certainly where they would take it because of its remoteness. But the idea that the government has alien technology, I'm not sure why aliens would give us stuff. I'm not sure what they're going to gain.
The supposed belief is that they gave us technology and things in exchange for letting them experiment on people, letting them abduct people and run experiments on them.
I kind of think they could just abduct people.
Exactly.
I'm not sure we could
Yeah, I
really
don't
stop
think they
them
need our
from doing
permission.
that.
They just find the nearest trailer park and they go for it.
And, obviously, if there are...
Or hikers and campers for the missing 411 people.
Sure. Yeah.
If there are alien craft visiting our planet, then, one of them would have to crash in order for the government to get their hands on something. And kind of, if they have the technology to get here, I'm not sure they would crash right when they're about to park.
No, my brother and I always say that was on that Dennis Miller said that once. He said, boy, these UFOs can fly across galaxies and pass stars
stick
through
the landing,
asteroids,
though.
but those New Mexico telephone lines are a real bitch.
That's true.
But my feelings on Area 51 is that it's just testing man-made flights. If there is anything exotic or whatever that was there, I think it's been long since moved, since everybody and their barber knows about Area 51, so it's not exactly...
I think it's probably still pretty secure, though.
It's probably pretty secure,
I
but
think
with everybody looking at it, they would want
and
these
the day of
things...
smartphones and the internet, everybody gets a picture of anything.
Yeah, they would want these things... I think the government likes the fact that people are so
enthralled with
honed
it.
in on this place because then they can do stuff in other places where people aren't paying attention to them.
I think there's a lot to that. I really do.
I do too. I think that the government likes the fact that Area 51 has this mystique that this is where top secret shenanigans go on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that.
Yeah.
Top secret shenanigans.
Top secret
That
shenanigans.
should be the theme of this episode.
So that ends this show. If you have any ideas, comments, suggestions about Area 51, please let us know. Jamie, thank you so much for sitting in.
Yeah, this is cool.
It was a pleasure.
Jamie actually just had a book published.
What?
Yes.
Why are we just talking about this now?
I didn't think he wanted it brought up.
This is called a teaser.
This is called a teaser. I didn't know if he wanted it brought up or not.
Why wouldn't you want that brought up? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
he published a book.
Okay,
Tell us about it.
Yeah.
I had a book published on music in Disney animated films, from Snow White to The Jungle Book. So if you're interested in that stuff, it's out on hardcover and ebook right now, and in spring it will be out on paperback.
Yeah, it was awesome. When I was at the library the other day, I was walking past the new material, and there it was sitting on the shelf. And I was like, holy crap.
Okay, what is the name of the book?
Music in Disney's animated features, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs to The Jungle Book.
Wow, that was the whole title.
That was
Yeah.
the whole
I
title.
thought that was the description. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think you missed out on a huge marketing possibility because you could have had, when somebody purchased the book, it could have came with a free MP3 download of me singing Hakuna Matata.
Ooh.
You
What
know.
a wonderful phrase.
That means no
Ain't
worries.
no passing. Yeah, okay.
It's a problem-free philosophy.
Yes.
But no, that is awesome. I'm super happy that got out.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Oh,
As
thank you.
as writers ourselves, we're always a little jealous when we hear that someone,
Just a little bit
made
jealous.
it big.
Yeah. Thanks for making
Very
time for us
cool.
tonight,
Yeah.
Mr.
Oh.
Big
For
Shot.
the little people.
For the little people. He's out slumming
I love.
tonight.
Every time I come to Wisconsin, I try to make my way to Batavia.
Yeah.
Well, how could you not?
The booming metropolis, as I
Yeah.
like to call it.
It's off the hook here. I think we saw another car tonight when we were
Yeah, we
coming
did.
through.
There's a dog running across the street.
Yep. So it's a busy night here in Batavia.
Yeah.
Oh, I told Jamie when we got here, I realized just this week that old school media is because we are in an old school.
You just figured that out
I
now.
just figured that out now. I'm sorry.
Speaking of old school media,
Sorry.
Kurt's referring to the company that kind of is hosting this podcast along with Paranormal Palaver, Friday Nights with Jeff and Joe, and more in development right now. So we have a website. I don't think we have a Facebook page, but all of our podcasts do. So again, visit us, The Strange Sessions on Facebook.
Yep, a lot of people have been commenting on our YouTubes and
Our YouTubes.
our YouTubes. That's what the
interwebs.
kids say. That's on the interwebs. That's what the kids say these days.
I'm not hip like
It's like
that.
turned.
What?
Turned. I don't know. I think that's what kids say about something or other.
It's turned?
Turned.
Sounds dirty to
Just
me,
a
but
bunch of old
I'll nod
people
politely.
sitting in a room trying to sound cool. Isn't that what podcasts are?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes we do sound cool, but for the most part,
We mostly just sound strange.
yeah.
It's just
Exactly.
a filter on Audacity.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So, Jamie, thank you again for joining us. It was great having you here.
Yes.
And until next time,
Stay strange.